Science has begun to understand the word mysterious now. The word was often very loathsome to scientists. They had rejected it. But with quantum physics, this word mysterious has gained popularity now. Because quantum physics has discovered things, is advocating things that are impossible to understand logically. All the logic is falling apart now. It is crumbling. Science always believed in consistency, but that consistency is in question now. One thing that science is facing is the word paradox. Quantum physics talks about a couple of paradoxes that has challenged the very systematic, consistent, logical thinking, the way science works. And as I say, it is a welcome idea that science should accept that mysterious is not a bad word. It is not something negative. It is not that when somebody uses the word mystery, the person is criticizing science, that science is unable to solve certain things, that science is just an infant. But to accept the word mystery means there is more to things that meets the eye. That life cannot be understood in a particular pattern. That fixed rules cannot help. That even sometimes the whole existence cannot be comprehended in terms of well-defined laws, some elegant theories. That those theories may be just one of the ways of understanding the universe, but there are other ways, other mysterious ways, and those ways have to be tried, have to be trusted. Just acceptance of this simple word mystery is bridging the gap between the Buddha and science. Let us talk about a few mysteries that science is facing these days, and I'm sure the conscious scientists are enjoying it, unlike those who are always so egoistic that they are hell-bent on solving everything, just everything, and it becomes a question of their prestige that they cannot answer certain questions. The lovers of science are enjoying it. There is something called quantum entanglement, particle entanglement in science. It is said that two particles are so entangled with each other that if you cause one action to one particle, the other particle also reacts. And entangle does not mean that they are actually one with each other, they are trapped with each other. But there is a distance between the two. One particle is here, another may be in America or in Mars. Even with such huge distance, certain familiarity, certain connection has been observed between these two particles. Anything that you do to one particle will have its impact on the other particle. And it is such a mystery. And the most puzzling thing about this entanglement is that it violates even Einstein's law. Einstein has claimed that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. But the impact on the other particle is instantaneous, And no matter how far the two particles are from each other, they may be hundreds of light years away from each other, but the impact is instantaneous. What is it that binds these two particles? And what is it that can travel faster than the speed of light? Unimaginably, incredibly faster. This is one of the mysteries. Another very famous mystery of science is that a photon, that is a particle of light, behaves both as a wave as well as a particle. It is a well-known mystery that a photon is neither fully a particle nor a wave, it is both. There is something more mysterious about it. How do we know that a photon behaves like a particle as well as like a wave? So one experiment has been conducted. It is called double slit experiment, in which two slits are made on a board and then photons are fired through them. It has been observed that at the time of firing of photons, if there is an observer, a detector, that actually studies the firing or the behavior of these photons, then photons behave like particles. If there is a detector, there is an observer, they behave like particles. But if there is no detector, if the detector is switched off, they start behaving like wave. Now the mystery is, how do photons know that the detector is on or off? Somehow they always know it. No matter how cunningly you operate that detector, they are going to find out and they are going to behave like particles. These are the things that have baffled scientists. Now, another thing that science has been struggling with is whether time travel is possible. A new concept has been introduced as far as traveling is concerned. It is quantum teleportation. Taking the idea that two electrons are entangled, it can be fairly and logically assumed that these particles are the identical copies of each other. They are just like clones. So whatever is done to an electron here affects the electron there in just the same way. Then is it possible to experiment with human beings and your own image, somebody who's entangled with you quantumly, and if the person is just the same, you can be teleported to that place. That means your entire substance, your whole essence, your whole being can be transported to that being. And this way, hundreds of light years of journey, distance, can be completed in an instant. This has opened again a new possibility for science, because till date science has remained very limited with the speed of light. Brian Cox says that the speed of light is frustratingly slow. So this is a time travel. But if we bring in what mystics have said about time travel, they have said something very similar. what science does, it perceives time travel in terms of the movement of physical body. But mystics have asserted that it is not the body that travels, not the physical body, but the subtle body, Sukshma Sharir, that travels. And that subtle body is not bound by the rules of time and space. That subtle body is free from the laws of physics. So it can travel any distance in a very short time. This is one thing. Now, there is another paradox in time travel, which can be readily solved by this mystic view. Scientists have always wondered if it is possible to travel back in time, in the past, or forward in the future. Certain disturbing paradoxes start emerging. First of all, if somebody could travel back to his past and killed his father or mother, would he be born? There would be absolute impossibility of that birth. So, scientists look at this paradox as impossible to understand. But here, they can definitely take help from spiritualism. Time travel in terms of spirituality is not the movement of the body. Going back in the past simply means movement of the subtle body, and that subtle body is just an observer. It cannot do anything physically. It cannot change anything. The past as such cannot be changed. The material past, it has already happened. The material past can never be changed. But why does it confuse science? Because science is still always theorizing things, conceptualizing things in terms of matter, body. When this mystic point of view is included in scientific view, that it is something else, just an observer that resides in the body and can travel to the past, but it can only see the past, cannot do anything. There have been Mahavir and Buddha. Mahavir used to do Jati Smaran method, where he helped his sannyasins to recall their past, to travel back to their past, to discover their past lives. And this was his method to show them the dreamlike quality of whole life. Osho also did it. In fact, he remembered his own past births. Buddha, his Jatak stories. Buddha remembered his past births. In fact, he said that a Brahman, truly Brahman, is someone who can recall his past births. So there have been several such people who have traveled to their own past, but they have never tried to do anything about it. It is gone. It cannot be undone now. These two views, the physical movement to the past, physical traveling to the past, and just the traveling of the subtle body to the past, these two views have to be harmonized. This is one thing. The one thing that we now have begun to realize, that in a state of pure scientists, we need spiritual scientists, we need meditator scientists, and likewise we need scientific meditators. This is the point where science and spirituality have to join hands together and they have to work together. Something of the kind has already begun to happen. There is a mystic in India, Jaggi Vasudev. He has come up with a very unique idea of inner engineering. And he shares his experience of how he developed this idea of inner engineering in a talk. He said that after his enlightenment, he was so fascinated with his own inner self that he would sit with his eyes closed for hours on end, in fact for days, and he would just analyze everything that was inside his body. And what he discovered, that if the maker of this body was inside, then the maker should be able to fix all things. And then he pioneered a revolution in the medical science. His first experiment was with himself. Once he was playing hockey and he injured his left ankle. It was fractured. And he had asthma also at that time, so he just sat with his eyes closed. And he said with a resolve, he believed that if the maker was inside, he must be able to cure this fracture. And with intense meditation, in little more than an hour, miraculously he was able to cure his fracture, and his asthma was completely cured. That was indeed a momentous turn in medical science, because if medical science could be transformed this way, much is achievable. And then there are other experimenters like Osho and Sri Ravi Shankar. Osho's method of dynamic meditation is purely scientific. So is Ravi Shankar's Sudarshan Kriya. And several researches have been done on these methods, and they have proven that these methods, breathing practices, have very positive effect on the practitioners. They have great therapeutic value. So these experimenters, Jaggi, Osho, Ravi Shankar, they are trying to create that scientific spirituality which is the need of the hour. Unlike the priests of the most of the religions who have done nothing except creating clashes between the science and religion, and science has responded, science has reacted.